What's happening, everyone? My name is Warner Miller, and it is my pleasure to just chop it up and have a conversation with the uh, uh, playwright extraordinaire Mr. Idris Goodwin, who I have the pleasure of performing or can't think of a better word, but essentially trying to bring life to the words that he wrote in the three pieces called "Never Scared." Never Scared. I love that. For those, all you like '90s kids who know the song, if you know, you know. If you know, you know. I
That's
just
it.
leave it
You
at
know,
that.
you know. That's
If
right.
you know, you know. But yeah, man, I'm happy to be here with you.
Yeah.
Listen, man, I actually want to just spark it off real quick, man. So there are three pieces in this piece
Yeah.
that you in this overall hands up that you wrote
Hmm.
that I had the pleasure of performing. But it's a part of a collective of
Right.
pieces. Just off top, what was your inspiration behind each one? Now, I will just to preface the question, and I know you know this, but just for
Yeah.
the listeners, like they are three different pieces, but they kind of fold into a larger theme.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, man. What was your I guess the overall inspiration and maybe the individual inspiration behind the three, if you can.
Um, Sorry about that. My phone rang in my office. Sorry, I don't know how to
You're
like
good.
mute it. Sorry, my
Oh,
bad.
good
But
for you. You got an office. You don't even know where I'm at in my house.
it
I
looks
had
like
to
you got
like
like a photo studio or something. I see those big photo
yeah.
lights over there.
I had to infiltrate a room in my house, but go ahead, man. Good for you. You have a actual office.
So yeah, so great. First of all, it's great to meet you, and thank you for
Mhm.
embodying the words. I appreciate it. I mean, these pieces, man, they're very much written in my voice. Like essentially, you're playing me for the most part. As bizarre as that is to say, but I believe that I was trying to, I think all our stories are universal in a way, and I was just trying to, man, just convey the anxieties that white supremacy can induce in us as black people, as black men walking this earth. We're under constant threat, and that fear and anxiety that we have of just like walking around, just trying to like take up space can be overwhelming. And so it's just these are just three very real reflections on moments, things I've felt. And the last piece, of that group that they shooting is kind of more of more of a metaphorical meditation on the condition, what it is, just of what we're up against, right? Like,
Mhm.
so anyway, I don't know if I answered your question very well, but
Uh-huh.
yeah, I mean that's what sparked them off. I mean, they were very easy pieces to write. I'll just say that.
And, and it's funny because like the three of them are like I said, they have one. There's a theme. There's a through line
Yeah,
through the three pieces and the the testaments as a whole. But like they're
yeah,
very different. They're different in how. Well, I know they evoke something different from me. That first piece was very much like uh, I don't know. I imagine it like sitting around like what made them so dope to me is I could hear my voice in them too.
there you go. Cool.
You know what I'm
That's what's
saying?
up. Yeah,
And that first piece is um like I imagine myself in my apartment, hearing that bird,
yeah,
tap, you know what I'm saying? Like and then going outside and it kind of like snowballing into something else. You
yeah,
know what I'm saying? And
yeah,
then for that second piece, like that's, any person that's been like a teaching artist
yeah.
or,
Yes.
has had to, speak somewhere, something like, I mean, it was so spot on. And then the
Yeah.
third piece, like you said, it was like a meditation of, you know, you said it better than what I'm going to attempt to, but like a meditation on, just like the what ifs and the
Yeah.
and whatnot. So yeah, man,
Yeah.
they were dope. They were
Well,
dope.
thank you, man. Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, that's cool that you said that you heard him in your own voice because it's. I wrote them in my voice, and I love that. That makes me happy to hear that you could hear yourself, because that's what I think storytelling is. I mean, I think that's what performers do as well, is that we sort of tell our own story, so that, you know, and then others retell it. And, you know, and our stories as Black folks, you know, we're also telling our ancestors' stories, where, you know, there's this beautiful spiritual thing, you know, around story, and where our stories come from, and the things that are the same and the things that are a little different, and there's a universal truth in there. And so that's cool that you were able to kind of pick up my vibrations, you know, and make them your own. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Got any questions for me?
Yeah, no, sorry.
Because I could keep going.
My
I could keep
bad.
going, but I wanted to open the floor to you.
No, I do. I mean, I'm curious about what you know, why you well, let me back up and say, you know, in terms of your journey as a performer, where does a piece like this fit in? I mean, is this piece, and really Hands Up as a whole, but is it emblematic of what you normally, the kind of work you normally do? Is this something else? Is this where does this fit in?
I was, well, and as far as the content, like it's in that big gumbo of what I've had the pleasure of doing in my career. Now the radio play, that was a bit different, and it's funny, man. Like, especially that last piece, man. Like it actually, and you know, for the listeners, you really, if you haven't heard it, you know, I'm sorry, I'm not going to give too much away, because I want you to hear it. But like that last piece snuck up on me, man, and I tell you, I'll give you this, like I was far more, like, I was emotionally invested in all of them, because like I said, I heard my own voice. But that last piece of really like imagining this euphoric, this kind of perfect place, then slowly kind of deteriorating into you know, like the reality of what it is. Like, it snuck up on me, and it actually, like, I had to take and I was actually embarrassed, because I don't, you know, I'm pretty I can hold my emotions, I guess. I don't know if that's a good thing. And it snuck up on me, man. It really did, because to sit down and think about, you know, because you referenced Tulsa, you know, and even the images of it, you know, of the, you know, I'm thinking of the Nina Simone song, you know, the Strange Fruit, you know, and how, well, I don't want to give too much away, but that last piece, particularly really and doing it as a radio play. I think maybe I didn't, because it was my first time doing it, I perhaps maybe took it a little for granted how much just saying words could just as easily captivate and grip you as it is, you know, saying them and putting it in your body. And the thing is, it was in my body, and that's the crazy thing. Even though I wasn't on camera, like, it was in my body. But yeah, man. So yeah, to answer your question, content wise, it's not too far from what I do and have done and what I enjoy to do. But the method, was very new.
Yeah, well, that's cool to hear, man, because it's a tricky piece. They're seemingly simple pieces, but they're easy pieces to do the wrong way. And this is no shots against any other actors who have done it, but you know, they're written from my sort of spoken word breakbeat poetry voice, and it requires it asks the performer to really just tell the story. I mean, that's really who you're playing. Like, you're playing a storyteller, and you're confessing or giving testimony. And it doesn't need, but you got to strike that right. You got to find that right color and that right tone. It can't be too laid back, you know. But I've seen people put a little too much sauce on it, and and they betray the rhythm, right? Because it's written like very specifically, like with a very specific. It's supposed to fall at a certain way, and it's tricky, man. I don't know that I exactly know how to direct anyone to do it. But so I appreciate it seems like you really have done your dramaturgy, like, you know, and really lived in the text, like what is this piece saying, you know? And so as a writer, I really appreciate that.
Well, yeah, man. Jonathan McCrory, the director of
shout out Jonathan McCrory.
Big shout out. I mean, he was definitely he's very, very important with keeping me in the pocket, you know, because to your point, you know, my first instinct, especially, and I could hear the spoken wordness of it, you know, and my first instinct was to kind of approach it in that way, and perhaps lose a bit of the truth of each and every word and living in each and every word versus performing it.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying, and that's why at the beginning of this talk, I didn't think perform was the. I mean, I didn't know we're artists, but you know what I'm saying? Because like at first, that was my instinct. My instinct was to perform the piece in a kind of, you know, spoken word meter and blah, 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 blah,
Thank you. Please don't do that.
Exactly. But that was my initial instinct. And and thankfully Jonathan lovingly but firmly steered me, like, all right, listen, man. and I mean that, and I'm grateful for it, you know, because I don't know if I would have engaged with it the way that I ended up engaging with it had I kept it on just a spoken word type of, you know, vibe. So
no, it's not supposed to be like that at all. I mean, this is a person. I mean, especially because like in the first joint, you know, that really is supposed to, and again, Jonathan, earmuffs, okay? I'm not trying to confuse your act or anything. But you know, that first joint is like, you know, I as I was writing it, it was like me really, because this is a true story.
It sounds real.
It's me writing it like it's happening. So it's like, it's first person, like it's like I want people to feel me and like you're in that moment as it's happening. So in a way, it does draw upon some acting skills because you want to also be in that emotional space too. The second piece is, it's funny. It's like, it's the moment between the spoken word, kind of like, you know what I mean? So it's like the prelude would be you doing your spoken word stuff, and then that kid asks that question, and then you're like, you know, it's when you're in here. And then that last piece is like so dreamy, you know, it's so dreamy. So it's three different colors for sure. And that's why I say it's, you know, it's really to pull that piece off like it's supposed to be. It does take that level of nuance and attention. But it sounds like you guys are on the right track. I can't wait to hear it. I'm very excited to hear it.
I think so. I want to ask you, man, like, you know, I don't know if you, I think I heard you say this, or maybe I was thinking it while you were speaking. There is a humor in the first one that I saw. I mean, just at least for me, the humor of this bird tapping on the window, and it kind of like you know, making you kind of discombobulated. You know, there's a certain humor, not haha, but like, huh, this is crazy. Right. And the second one definitely has a humor in it. If for nothing else, it absolutely reminds me of like I've been in that position. So it's just it's one of those things. It's funny because it's true.
Exactly.
The third one, you know, there was no humor that I could find. It was more, you know, but particularly with the first two, and maybe even just in your work as a whole, you know, where do you find the humor in such, I guess, like tragedy and the humor in like oppressive conditions? You know, where do you find the humor or joy?
I mean, I think all three are tragic. I mean, I think it's a suite of tragic stories for sure. I think, you know, humor and tragedy is so close, and, you know, the root of Black humor and so much of Black art is tragedy. I mean, like you know, our comedy is brutal. You know, it can be brutal and straight up. I mean, you think about Snapping and The Dozens, and, you know, insult. You know, I mean, even a great deal of our humor is based around tragedy and taking the sting out of things, but also building up tough skin, you know? And so I think I just, you know, for me, I don't really try to be funny. I just really, I just really tell it like it is, and the humor is just there, you know, inevitably, because you know, there's irony, there's absurdity. It's like, you know, what I was feeling in that moment was real fear in that first piece, right? Real, not fear, but just a little like anxiousness. But when I zoomed out and looked at myself, I was like, this is absurd. This is ridiculous, right? You know, the second joint, yeah, I mean, it's a funny, it's a weird, it's like, it's funny because it's true to your point, right? You're like, you know, that kid, you can hear him say it. You're like, oh boy, here we go. But yeah, it's not. So yeah, I mean, it's all, but all three are tragedy, because the whole thing is tragic. I mean, like, to never to walk around and with anxiety and fear in a Black body is a very tragic thing, and a very real state, you know, until white supremacy, you know, the insidiousness of white supremacy is to remind you that you're never on completely stable ground, and you always got to kind of watch your back, and anything anyone says to you, you're like, what did they mean by that? And what, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's small, medium, and large, the scale of it. And so, you know, it's funny, like, I wrote this piece, gosh, maybe, God, I don't know, like, it can't be 10 years ago, but it feels like 10 years ago. But this conversation we're having now, man, it feels like we're still here, which
that's
also
the tragedy of it. That's the tragedy of it.
That part.
That's the tragedy of it.
Yeah, that part. Warren, let me ask you this, man. Where did you grow up?
Brooklyn.
Oh, that's what's up, man. What part of Brooklyn?
Crown Heights, Bed-Stuy.
Oh, okay.
Let me be honest. Let me be 100% for my New Jersey cat. So I grew up the first 6 years of my life in Brooklyn. Then my mom's moved me to Newark and East Orange, New Jersey. Yep. And then I came back. So yeah, so part of that living, and so part of that living was in Jersey. But then I came back to Brooklyn.
Last time I stayed in an Airbnb right where sort of Brooklyn meets Crown, or where Bed-Stuy meets Crown Heights.
I'm literally on that cusp.
Okay, yeah. So I love that, because you see the changes so quickly. But this was years ago. But I remember we stayed at a place that it was like a little bodega on the corner, and I walk a little further, and it seemed like a huge project building or something like that. But I remember across the street there was this coffee shop with this like kind of shishi foo coffee shop, and it was just so stark. It was like such a stark difference between, you know, you could just see the gentrification coming, but it was so stark. There was like a, you know, like, it wasn't called this, but it was kind of like an Obama's Chicken type of place, right?
Bro,
you know?
Hey, listen, there actually was an Obama's Chicken.
Yeah,
there wasn't Obama's Chicken.
But then across the street was like the guy eating crepes with like the little ear thing on. And then I walked a little further, and I'm totally in the, you know, Hasidic, you know, environment. And but yeah, I'll never forget that. Very stark. But I'm curious about how much more has changed since I was there years ago. Anyway, that's random. That's not why people tuned in, but I always like to know where people are from.
Who knows? Maybe. And you're from Chicago?
No, I lived in Chicago for a super long time, but I'm originally from Detroit, Michigan.
Detroit.
Yeah, and I lived in Chicago. Went to school in Chicago. Found my theater voice in Chicago. I used to go back a lot, and so a lot of people just know me as the Chicago guy, and I'll own that, you know, like, but like, until you bring up the Bulls and Jordan and all that, then I got to be very clear that, like, no, I am a child of the D, Pistons all day.
Well, listen, man. You know, whether Chicago or Detroit, as an aside, and this definitely don't have anything to do with what we just said. You may be a child of both of them, but you definitely a child of hip hop, because I love that you call one of your pieces, the second joint was this, that, and the third. You call it a joint, and I kind of chuckled on the inside. It's like, okay,
man,
this dude is really.
Listen, we're not having this conversation without hip hop, man. Like, hip hop. And I mean, that's what sparked my love of writing. That's what made me want to tell stories. But even deeper than that, it's what made me want to represent, you know, and right. We're talking about Brooklyn, and, you know, like, I mean, Big Daddy Kane, Notorious B.I.G., MC Lyte, you know, I'm loving Sky Zoo's work lately. I mean, I think that guy's brilliant, and, you know, but yeah, man, so there is no me as a writer without hip hop, for sure, man. Like, forget about it.
And again, as another side, I got to give you even more that you reference, and not even reference, but you reference him first, Big Daddy Kane, as one of Brooklyn's
Oh, come on now.
favorite. No, because people automatically, because we have recency bias, they go right to Jay-Z,
They go to Jay,
they go to Biggie,
yeah.
you know what I'm saying? But nah, Big Daddy Kane, bro.
No, there's no
Yeah,
Jay
absolutely.
and no Biggie without Kane. I mean, Kane was the plug, man, for both of those guys.
Absolutely,
yeah.
Out of Brooklyn. That's right.
Yeah,
that's
it's
right.
a great lineage,
That's
man.
right.
It's an important lineage, and it's exciting.
Dig it, man. I'll just ask it. What, if anything, do you want the listeners, the viewers, to walk away from as a result of hearing your pieces, your joints?
Man, I just, for me at this stage in my career, I just want people to reflect, and in that reflection, because I think self-reflection is so important. I think as human beings, we got to do that. We got to reflect on our own journeys. We got to try to know thyself as much as we can. And to me, that's my role as a storyteller, is just to tell these stories that give people opportunities to reflect on themselves, on other people, where they're at. And just as a Black writer, man, as a Black man, of America, descendant of stolen people, I just feel this strong sense of duty to tell the nuances and just show the depths of our soul, the depths of our souls, the depths of our pain, the blues, the gospel, the pain and the good news. You know what I mean? I come from God-fearing Baptist people wading in the water. It's all just the good news and the testimony and the blues, and I'm in that tradition. So that's it. That's
what's that in. All right, so yes, walk away with the good news, testimony, and the blues. That's dope.
Thanks, brother. Now, same question for you. What do you hope? When you do your thing, what do you hope people walk away with?
You know what? It's funny you said you mentioned the word duty. Yeah. I also feel and almost, well, not almost, but definitely certain times, in spite of how I feel, the burden to teach. Even to people that should know better, even to people who kind of don't have excuses to why they don't know. Yeah. I'm always looking for teachable moments. And what I hope people, I hope that obviously if they entertain, that's fine. That you get your money's worth and whatnot. But I also, if nothing else, man, I hope you walk away. I hope you're learning a perspective of like you said, the people descended from the hands of people descended from stolen people. Yeah. I hope that they people learn. I guess just hear stories, man, and know that this is happening in real time right now. Yeah. That I have a 15-month-old daughter, and
hey, salutes. That's great.
Oh, you have 15-month-old too?
No. I just kids are awesome. I have 2 kids, but
okay.
Yeah. Is this your first child?
Yeah. It's my first. It's my first. So I'm kind of learning on the run. But one of the things I'm learning or have learned is that even when I want to give her some like a medicine or something, a lot of times I have to put it in something that tastes good, that pleasures her palate, and that's one of the dope things about art, just in general. But this piece or these pieces, my hope is that and I've heard Don Cheadle say this, that the sugar is good enough to where it's you palate it and you taste it, because I don't want you to spit it out. If you spit it out, and that's your choice, you spit it out. But ideally, I want you to ingest it. I want it to seep in there and really saturate, and perfectly like this does that.
Yeah, man. Facts.
Yeah, man. So it has been certainly my pleasure chopping it up with you.
Me too, man.
And I believe all of the information was somewhere on the bottom. Get your tickets. I think it's from August 16th to August 23rd, if I'm not mistaken. I might be, so just check back. But yeah, it's definitely been a privilege to not only talk with you, but also to see, to read, and to interpret your work. I appreciate you, Idris.
Nah, I appreciate you, dog, and thanks so much for all your kind words about it, and I look forward to hearing you do your thing, and chopping about hip hop some more someday.
Absolutely.
All right, Brethren.
All right, peace.
Peace.